Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar from the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as for most of this upcoming working week is continuing to be very warm and very dry. However, we've got very strong signals now that things may change as we head towards Thursday, Friday into next weekend as well. It looks likely high pressure will shift further eastwards, allowing lower pressure to move in from the Atlantic, but also drawing up some very warm, if not hot air from the south. So there's a whole array of different scenarios here, but a lot of them do include something very hot, perhaps temperatures rising widely into the mid to high 20s or even 30 degrees, and also the risk of some big thunderstorms potentially as the lower pressure, the instability, combined with that hot and humid air. The GFS run today shows some really big thunderstorms, very high Cape levels, so it would be pretty explosive with that sort of pattern. Other runs just showing something really warm and hot, perhaps temperatures, as I said, into the mid to high 20s, with perhaps still some thunderstorms around, but not quite as explosive. So it's looking likely things will change. If you're looking forward to something hotter or thundery, then I'd say things change for the better for you. But if you prefer this sort of more still, dry, warm but not too hot sort of pattern, unfortunately things do look likely to be changing, but we do still have a good 3 or 4 days still left of something a little bit more warm and generally dry. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So you start on the live radar at the moment. It is another bone dry day and it is very warm. We can see to our south another continual thunderstorm outbreak, and these have been fairly stationary, these storms popping in and out of existence through the day, and sort of degrading away overnight and then restarting as soon as we get to sort of lunchtime the next day. And it's all because we've got low pressure sat towards southern Europe with a very warm and humid air mass, and it's this air mass that could be moving our way over the next 5 days or so. It's not this low pressure system, it's more of a low pressure system that's out towards the Azores right now that is going to be slowly edging our way, drawing up a southerly wind, hot and potentially very thundery. So this dry pattern we've got in northwest Europe at the moment is looking likely to change. If you do put on the temperatures, as of around 3:30 is the peak temperatures of the day, and you can see once again in the west and the south it is best, temperatures widely into the low 20s, high teens further northwards and eastwards. You can see the very hot humid air through parts of southern Europe at the moment, and especially through North Africa. We're not going to get anything ridiculous like this, like 40 degrees or 35 degrees, but maybe touching 30 degrees is a possibility. You can see the regional temperatures here very varied. We've got thunderstorms taking off, and again that is something we will probably have to encounter in the near future. So if you go over to the UKV now and have a look at the precipitation and the temperatures over the next 5 days, we'll see fairly settled and warm over the next 4 days, but right towards the end of the run we start to see signs of something a bit hotter and something a bit more thundery. So through the rest of this afternoon, again, really dry, really nice, and that continues into Monday as well. Another very nice and warm day. Tuesday looks very similar. Again, perhaps some trapped cloud in the east that could hold on, and a few showers popping off maybe through Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. Again, nothing crazy there. Into Wednesday, a very similar day. Again, very warm and very dry, but slowly into Thursday and into Friday we can start to see thicker cloud in the southwest and some heavy areas of rain, especially as we head into early hours of Friday. Some heavy thundery rain appearing right on the bottom left of the chart, indicating that instability is slowly moving in. We can see from the mean sea level pressure at day 5, you see it is lowering down to 1010 millibars, which is trending on lower pressure, and that wind veering more southeasterly in off the continent. Mixed level Cape, nothing too significant at this stage, but expecting this to potentially explode quite a bit as we do head into next weekend, maybe getting towards 1,500 joules per kilogram. Again, not too big on the grand scheme, not compared to sort of American storms or some southern European storms or South American storms or anywhere else further to the close to the hot air, but for the UK would be fairly strong storms. And the reason for this is the very warm air getting dragged up from the south. You can see the 15 or 16 degree isotherm is moving in. The dew points are rising as well. Again, nothing too ridiculous here, but potentially touching on the mid to high teens, which is very humid air. Again, that are arriving by next weekend, again, all giving fuel to the thunderstorms. And we'll start to see these temperatures rise over the coming days as well. So you can see through this afternoon, perhaps 23 or 24 in the south and the west, elsewhere high teens or touching on 20 degrees. Once again into tomorrow, again very warm in places, 23, 24 or maybe even 25, but once again widely high teens or low 20s. And again just repeat into Tuesday, perhaps slightly cooler in more areas, perhaps a bit more thicker cloud through England and Wales, more towards the high teens or touching 20 degrees, but still across Republic of Ireland 23 or 24. And finally into Wednesday and Thursday, 25 or 26 in the southwest, that hot air starting to arrive, and you can see making a bit more of an influence again on Thursday for parts of southern England, 25 or 26, very warm, and you can see it is going to continue to get hotter into the weekend with increased risk of thunderstorms. So do now go over to the longer range and have a look at the GFS for what's happening over the next couple of weeks. You can see high pressure is firmly in control at the moment, but watch this low pressure towards the Azores through the coming week. It slowly heads our way up from the southwest and drags in a south or southeasterly wind by Friday into the weekend, throwing instability our way and very warm, hot, humid air. Again, it's not the best way to see it on the pressure charts, but we'll show you it in the upper air temperatures and some of the Cape levels in a minute, which does show you how unstable that air mass is. And continue seeing southerly winds up against low pressure sat out in the Atlantic, and would be repeated fights between hot, dry air and more humid, more unsettled air trying to come up from the southwest. Now, if you run back to Friday time, this is where we've started to see the uncertainty. If we look at the upper air temperatures, you see very warm air across southern Europe heading our way. 10 degree isotherm moving in, perhaps even touching the 15 degree isotherm moving in. The UKV was even hinting at that by next weekend. Very warm, very humid air. We have the dew points. Look at those dew points, very high, touching mid to high teens, if not 20 degrees in the southeast, which again doesn't sound ridiculously high considering dew points are higher elsewhere on the planet. But for the UK, that is a very high, oppressive dew point, and it would be very, very warm, very muggy, and all fueling those storms. So we continually see low pressure trying to come up, dragging those warm southerly winds up, and we probably see quite a bit of storm activity with this. Again, the temperature deviation, again, nothing too ridiculous, but getting towards 8 or 10 degrees above average for the time of year. So we're not looking at anything like 35 degrees, or getting close to sort of the June temperature records. We're looking perhaps as much as 30 degrees here. And again, if we just finish by zooming in more to the United Kingdom and have a look at the 2 metre temperatures and the Cape levels, you can see by next Friday, temperatures still in the mid-20s. Next Saturday, perhaps even higher, mid-20s or higher 20s in a few spots. And into Sunday, once again, mid to high 20s, 28 degrees is possible here. But you can see the regional variation in those temperatures there. Some areas really up and down, and that is because of the storm risk we will be seeing. And finally into Monday and Tuesday again, still very warm and hot. East Anglia perhaps seeing, and London area seeing perhaps as high as 30 degrees, and that perhaps continues into Tuesday as well before things do slowly die out as we start to see thunderstorms move in. Now, the best way to view the risk of storm activity is to look at the Cape levels. Again, through Friday, nothing too significant, bit of Cape developing through central England, but again, nothing to take much note of. But you can see into Friday, significant capes breaking out across northern France, and that is going to head our way. Into Saturday, very high cape levels for the UK, that is. Again, on the grand scheme of it, we're looking perhaps around 1,000 joules per kilogram. Not compared to 3,000 joules per kilogram you can see elsewhere on Earth, but for the UK this is high cape, and it just continues through into Sunday as well, even higher, perhaps getting towards 1,300, 1,400 or even 1,500. This would be bringing widespread storm activity and eventually slowly degrading away in the following week, but still Monday has a significant risk there, even higher, perhaps as high as 1,750 there. Very, very high cape levels. Again, I don't think it will play out like this. Again, these are very, very strong signals for thunderstorms, but there is the real possibility of seeing some strong storms for next week if this pattern does come off. And you can see this from the accumulated precipitation here. If we go from really nothing on sort of Saturday time, early hours of Saturday, to some areas seeing a couple of inches of rain by Monday time, just showing you that we could see some big storms. Now, if we just also have a look at the raw precipitation charts for this as well, just to give us a highlight of the widespread nature of these storms. If we do move through Friday, you get a few heavy showers and storms in the southwest, but it's really into Saturday and Sunday things break out. Widespread scattered thunderstorms there through Saturday. Again, some regions will see intense storms, other areas not so much. But as we head into Sunday, another big outbreak through parts of England and Wales, and this is where the Cape is really high through those central regions, and you can see that developing here. Significant storm activity, and you can see it peters out through the evening, and more storms develop on Monday as well. And you can all see it's all heading northwards, all in the same wind direction. And even if you don't see some homegrown storms, there could be some French imports as well. You can see big storm activity across northern France as well. So again, GFS run, it is one run. Probably won't play out like this, but this just shows you the possibility of if we do see that exact very warm, hot air mass head up from the south, all coinciding with that instability. Could see, as I said, some big storms next weekend. If we do look at the GEM now, compare what that is doing. Again, high pressure continues to build in, low pressure running up from the southwest into that hot air, and we do see again the risk of heavy showers and storms. Probably not as many storms because the low pressure is slightly further away, but regardless, it's still very warm. We can see that the upper air temperatures widely 10 degrees, as high as 15 degrees, so probably still would see those high 20s or even 30 degrees with this pattern, but perhaps not quite as many storms. So if we do zoom into the United Kingdom look, if we do run through, you can see some scattered showers and heavy thunderstorms in the west, but not breaking out widely because we are closer to the higher pressure. So GM still bringing some instability in, still bringing that very hot air in, but just not quite as widespread. If we do look at the 2 meter temperatures here, next Friday 25 or 26 degrees, and this is the 3 p.m. The midday temperatures. If we look at the 3 p.m. temperatures, even higher, 27 or 28. Into next Saturday, those temperatures rising even higher, 28 to 29 degrees, and you can rule out an isolated 30. And into Sunday, getting even hotter, 28 or 29 by midday, so most likely 30 degrees by 3 p.m. So you can see both the GFS and the GEM here are touching on that 30 degree point. Again, nothing hotter than that is really possible with this sort of air mass this time of year, early June. But definitely something hot could be on the cards next weekend, and the risk of significant storms with that as well. Now finally, if we do finish up by having a look at the ECMWF, see if that agrees with the other two runs. Again, high pressure dominating, low pressure running up from the southwest into the higher pressure, drawing up a southerly wind and introducing some instability. Looking hot, but also little low pressure scuttling in there, so it could be quite unsettled at times. Again, look at the upper air temperatures, very warm, if not hot air moving in. Again, we'd like DC temperatures in the mid to high 20s, if not touching 30 degrees, and instability moving in. There could be some rainfall, but once again, nowhere near as much as the GFS was indicating, simply because we're not quite pulling in all those big thunderstorms. You can see where they're happening across central France, just off the coast of the Republic of Ireland there, just keeping us away from those storms. So will it turn warm if not quite hot? Probably, most likely. Will we be seeing big thunderstorms? The risk is there, the risk is increasing, but it's not a definitive answer at this stage. GM and the ECMWF keeping it more at bay, more exclusive to southern and western regions, so we will just have to see. If we do just finish on this ECMWF run by looking at those 2 meter temperatures, if we start by next Saturday, again widely mid-20s, 25, 26, 27 is possible. Same into Sunday, 25 to 28 perhaps, and the same into Monday again. Perhaps slightly cooler, more towards the mid to low 20s. So ECMWF still very warm, if not a little bit hot, but not quite as warm as the other two runs. If we finish by looking at the ensembles, these are the latest GFS. Once again, you see this big peak for the upper air temperatures in around 3 to 5 days' time, up towards 12 to 14 degrees at 850 HPA. Again, you had on about 15 degrees for the surface temperatures this time of year, widely high 20s and a few isolated 30 degrees. But you can see a big cluster of precipitation spikes here, and this is the risk of thunderstorms really increasing. Over the past few days, there's been precipitation spikes, but they've not been really clustering around that sort of 10th to 13th of June. They've been a bit more all over the place, but we are starting to see a bit more clustering here around those dates, indicating that's going to be where we see the biggest storms around the warmest periods, perhaps. Temperatures do die down a little bit after that, but still above average, so still likely low to mid-20s is possible as we do head around into the middle of the month. So it's not like it's a massive thundery breakdown, and we are seeing it go back to more unsettled, cooler weather in off the Atlantic. It's just a spike in upper air temperatures with some instability, perhaps getting a few days of hot conditions and some thunderstorms before things return back to what it's been really over the last couple of weeks. If we look at the 2-meter temperatures here, you can see getting very warm next weekend, touching 30 degrees, and the dew points are also picking up significantly. You can see that by next weekend, 14, 15, some even getting higher as 17 or 18. So very warm, very humid air, all going to contribute to the thunderstorm risk. And finally, if you look at the ECMWF, very similar, big spike in upper air temperatures. Not quite as many thundery runs. ECMWF definitely over the past few days has been a little bit more pessimistic with the risk of thunderstorms. But it still does show the very warm or hot air mass moving in. So ECMWF still on board with temperatures in the mid to high 20s, maybe touching 30 degrees, but not quite on board with the thundery risk. And it will be a battle between how far that low pressure in the Azores at the moment does head our way, how much instability it throws towards us. And you can see this on the 2-meter temperatures, still getting very warm next weekend, widely 25 to 30 degrees. So it's looking very warm, if not hot, as we do head into next weekend. Also a risk of some significant thunderstorms as well. So we've all got to look forward to that for next weekend or the end of this upcoming working week. But we've still got plenty of time to decipher what's going to happen exactly with it, as there still is a lot of uncertainty exactly how it will play out. But it is looking likely that summer, meteorological summer, really is going to start like it is summer. Hot weather and the risk of thunderstorms. So make sure you stay safe out there. The next few days will still be very warm and very dry, so make sure you go and enjoy that, and hopefully we'll have a much better idea what happens next weekend with those details over the coming days. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.